hello everyone, it's Pete here. Now look what's just arrived in the post. It's the new Arrma Senton 3S BLX. This is the version 3. Been waiting for this. It's been on order for a few weeks since they announced the version 3s. I previously had the version 2 Granite and that's been brilliant, but they announced the version 3s and a lot of upgrades, and the upgrades seem worth having. So once we've had a look at the truck, I want to show you a few things that I've learned from having owned the Granite. Some things you ought to check on this before you take it out for the first run to avoid the disappointment of things falling off or breaking. So looking at the side of the box here, it's got some of the features and some of these new bits. So it's now a Spectrum 3200 kV motor. It says stronger updated chassis. It says steering with more clearance for stones. I guess the stones can get out of there easier. And oh, it's got a fan on the motor now, which the previous version didn't have. So they're saying the power module, better sealing and sliding gear, so you can have variable pinions in there. It's not set positions like on the previous one. I don't know what the better sealing is, but I'll have a look at that in a minute. Now, rubber O-rings, that's a good feature. I did find with the metal seal bearings on the previous one, there were a couple that got a lot of grit in and kind of seized up. So rubber seal bearings should protect against the grit a bit better. I'm not exactly sure what's different about the differential. I know the radio they've upgraded. So it's now, I think it's effectively a tactic radio inside its branded Spectrum, but it's a much faster response time than the previous one that got criticised. And as mentioned before, it's got a Spectrum branded motor rather than an Arrma one. Okay, so on this one they're showing the vented tyres, which basically means they've got holes in so that you can spin the water out of them. Direct mount servo saver, I don't know what that is, but we'll have a look. So some of the standard bits from the previous one, BLX 100 ESC, wheelie bar I think is the same. Another new bit, they've got silicone O-rings on the shocks. Now the shocks did tend to leak, and on the previous one I ended up putting Tamiya O-rings in, which seemed to cure the problem. Okay, on the other side of the box they've got a few, that's a standard thing on the previous one. It's very easy to get into everything, and they're just showing how you can easily get this power module out, and I'll go through that in a bit. Say they've got the new thing about the steering, and I think there's more room for the stones to get out. So they've got the strengthener plate, which the previous one had, but the previous one wasn't actually screwed into place, and I did actually lose one because it's generally held in by part of the bumper, and if that bends that can come out. So on the new one here it's held in with screws, which is good. Okay, so here they're saying about the dirt management in here. I don't know what they've done with that, but hopefully the dirt doesn't go in so easily. They've got new body shells. So there's plastic lock nut for the slipper clutch. I didn't have a problem with the previous one coming undone, but I think that's supposed to stop that coming undone so easily. Not sure if these gears have changed or not. It's still plastic. It's very heavy duty. I haven't had a problem with that with the previous one. And then there's this castellated, I think that's how you say it, slipper pad, which basically means it's got grooves, so it locks into the spur gear there. Okay, let's have a look inside. Ooh. Right, as you can see, I've gone for the red one. My friend Rick wants to get one of these, and he particularly wanted the blue one. I wasn't bothered, so I've gone for the red one here. The film off. I don't know if it's coming across on the video, but the red is much brighter than I thought. I really like it, really nice actually. I wasn't sure about the new graphics when I saw the photos compared with the old one, but actually in the flesh, yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Get the body off and have a look at the gubbins. Okay, just for comparison, here's the Granite and here's the Senton. So you can see this one is a bit longer, it's a bit narrower because of the smaller wheels, but largely it's the same thing. It's got these smaller short course wheels. What you notice is that although it looks like that's the diameter of the rim of the wheel, if you look at the inside edge of the one at the back there, you can see it's actually a much bigger wheel. It's just made to look smaller at the front there, so there's not that much give in these. Okay, so it's got the motor at the back there with the heatsink and now with a fan. So I'll take out the power module bit in a minute and have a closer look at that. Notice with the prop shaft on this one, you've got a bearing in the middle. I guess just because it's a longer prop shaft, you don't want it wibbly wobbling about in the middle there. So the ESC is the same, which is the BLX 100. They have upgraded the steering servo. On the Granite I did change it out for one of the EcoBoost ones from Banggood, which is incredibly quick, and I will try this with this one, but I might upgrade it anyway. So the receiver's in this box underneath here, which is supposed to be waterproof. It's probably not 100% waterproof, so I will probably do additional waterproofing on that. So the drive shafts of the wheels, these sort of telescopic plastic things, haven't had any bother with these, haven't broken any of these yet. Shocks feel good, so we'll see if the new O-rings prevent them from leaking oil. So the ESC plug is one of these IC5s, I think they call them, and then my batteries have got these EC5 plugs on. These ones seem to be incredibly expensive to buy, but these ones are very cheap. So one thing to notice on this, I had trouble with an eBay seller. The battery's got the female connector, you can see there, because they're the sockets, and the ESC is the male as usual. But when you put them together, it's actually the female one goes into the plastic part, goes into the male one, and there was much confusion because what they sent me was the female sockets, but then they sent me the male outer because they're thinking, the outer, that must be the female, but on these plugs it works like that. Let's have a look at the controller. Okay, let's have a look at this. So you've got the standard like steering rate, throttle trim, steering trim. So I think you can have the throttle level at 50, 75 or 100. Not sure what that one does. I think it's just to reverse the steering or the throttle. It's got a nice foamy wheel, which is good. You can do your one-handed driving. So I guess you can assign other functions to that one there. Makes 4 AA's. I'll definitely try it out with this. Seems alright. One thing I might try, I've got one of these Dumbo RC transmitters. It's got the receiver with the gyro, and you can select how much gyro function you want. So it might be interesting to see how it is with that also. Okay, so you get the instructions here. It's worth having a look through. It's worth having a look at the ESC settings, make sure that is correct for what battery you're using and everything. So just get this this little thing here, which gives you the exploded view of the car, which is really useful actually for finding part numbers on. I'm going to show you how to get this power module out, which is the motor and spur gear assembly. So first up, we need to get the prop shaft out, so it's spring loaded in the middle. So basically you need to just pull that back there, get that off of there, and then pull the front bit out. So that's as easy as that. So then underneath there is one screw to undo, which is this one. So that releases this bit of plastic here. Pull that. You can use the strap to pull that out of there. Okay, so that is now off there, and that was preventing this whole thing from sliding forward, as was this clip up here. They've changed this clip a little bit just to make it a bit easier to pull. So basically you want to pull that up because that is like a clip under there, and then slide the whole lot forward. Now really want to loosen up these wires first for the motor. And that is that. Now I would say it's a bit more difficult once you've got all grit in here. So what's useful for this actually is the air vac thing I did a review on recently. Blast all the grit out because that can stop the this from sliding forward. Basically it slots into these bits on the chassis here. Once you've got this out, it's 3 screws to undo to get this apart. So you can see it's got the adjustable thing for the mesh on the pinion there. Notice it's got this sort of C-clip or E-clip around the end of there, so I guess that stops the pinion from coming off if you happen to have a loose grub screw. And the castellated, I think, clutch there. Now that comes off there. You can get the whole spur gear out there. One thing I noticed they've changed, which is good, is there used to be a bit of a slot there where dirt could get in, and it did, and on the previous one I put tape over that hole, but they seem to have sealed that up now, which is good. So this is the Spectrum motor they've got now, Arrma 3200 kV. So you can see they've got the new rubber sealed bearings, and this particularly I think was the one that was getting grit in it and seizing up. So yeah, that's good to see. Now the adjustment for the clutch is actually in there, and you can get to that while this is in the car. You just have to take the prop shaft off and get a hex down in there, and you can adjust it. Now a problem I had, and my friends with the Granites had, was the hub coming apart. I'll just show you. I just need to take the wheel off first. If I'm going to use this metal one, they give you a spanner thing here. I found I rounded that off pretty quickly. They do also give you a couple of hex keys there, so if you haven't got any hex drivers. Just need to get the hub off, so I just need to detach the upper arm and the steering and this bottom bit here. Just going to take off the wheel hex. It's worth saying that this is something that's sometimes loose from the factory, and I'm going to thread lock that grub screw when I put this back on. Right, so how this works is that is attached to that via a screw in the back of there, and that can come loose. So what I'm going to do is to undo it and thread lock it. Now to get to the end of the screw, you can sort of bend that back there. If you've got a long hex, you can just sort of feed it down the drive shaft. That's what I'm going to do. Right, so this is what comes apart, is that bit, which should be attached to that bit, and we found that these sort of shake loose eventually. So what I want to do is put a bit of thread lock on it, rather than try and put it on the screw there. I'm not going to try and get the screw out. I'm just going to put a bit of thread lock down in there and put it all back together. Use some of this Tamiya gel stuff. So I'll wipe off the excess on the top there. I don't want the thread lock coming into contact with the plastic parts. Okay, so that just needs to go back together there onto the screw. Okay, so hopefully that won't come apart. So back to the car, there's the same arrangement to attach this half of the drive shaft to the gearbox, and there's a screw at the end there which you can get at by poking a thin hex through there. So you probably can bend this back, but you need to take off a few more bits, but if you've got a long hex you should be able to just poke it down there. That is in the screw. You just need to get something to stop it spinning around. So you see the same sort of attachment there, and there's the screw in the end of there. So again, a bit of thread lock in there and put it back together. Okay, let's put it all back together. So that pin there is just held in with this little screw. Another thing you can do is just put a bit of tape along there, because very fine grit can sort of find its way under there. Just show you very quickly how these Arrma shocks work. This is one of my Granite, which is why it's a bit grubbier than a brand new one. So this top red ring, unusually for shocks, only holds on the spring. It doesn't actually hold the oil in. So yeah, if you take that off, just spring off, and the way that you get the oil is in the bottom. So how it works, you've sort of got a key in the bottom there and a socket there, and you can push that into there and unscrew it. I won't do it now, and that releases this sort of little capsule here that's got the O-rings in it. Now if you've mangled the key thing on the end there, which I have done a bit, they give you a key on this tool here, so you can sort of slot that in and use that to unscrew it. And in the box there's a few extra preload clips for the shocks. Okay, so onto the body shell. I'd recommend doing some strengthening on this. Notice they've got some extra sort of tape and that around the body post holes and over the wheels, but I don't think it's nearly enough. So I'll just show you what I've done with the Granite, because I'm going to do something very similar with this but not on camera. So what I've done with this is got the extra layer of plastic stuck on with a double-sided tape and just put new holes through. So Gorilla Tape all around, so there's an extra layer of plastic all over this area and at the back here. So I've got the GoPro mount screwed onto this one as well. So say any amount of strengthening is a good idea. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to do a run video of this before too long, but in the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.